So let's start with the elasticities. The first one, PED. And if you remember, when we talked about the law of demand, we're like, oh, price increases, the quantity demanded कम हो जाती है. PED will help us answer the question कि quantity demanded कितनी कम होती है. Is it equal? Like ज़्यादा से कम हो जाती है, कम से कम हो जाती है. What happens there. So that's why we need price elasticity of demand. That's the importance of it, as we'll see, and it helps us with a lot of things. So first of all, let's define PED. But I've always found that the definition of PED is easy. It's easier to remember if you remember it from the formula. So if you just remember the formula, which is important because in with elasticities, whenever you get an 8-mark question asking something relevant to them, alongside the definition, always do put the formula. So the formula for PED is that, whoa, ये क्या हो गया? So it's the percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in price. सही है. So basically saying कितना change quantity demand में आया upon कितना change price में आया in percentages. If you want to define it, then all I do is you say PED is a measure of the responsiveness of a percentage change in quantity demanded to the percentage change in price, and plus, so basically your formula in words. That's the way I like to remember it, right? So basically what we're saying is, if we draw a demand curve, price, you have quantity, your demand curve है. We're saying हम जितना प्राइस को बदल रहे हैं उसकी वजह से क्वांटिटी कम तो होगी, बट कितनी सी कम होगी. That's the basic idea behind this. And if you look at this particular formula, it can give us it can give us a lot of values. In fact, realistic वाली दो हैं, but values तो काफी हैं. So let's look at this. So it can give us a lot of values. It can give us values that are, let's say, greater than 1, less than 1, equals to 1, equals to 0, and equals to infinity का sign keyboard पे होता है. Let's just write infinity. So yeah, that's the idea. The two important ones are greater than and less than 1. So let's look at those respectively. So if you first look at, let's say, greater than 1, the idea behind greater than 1 is, if you really look at it, okay, greater than 1 means the numerator is greater than the denominator. So for example, अगर आपका let's say price 5% से increase हुई, then quantity demanded जो response जो आया, जो quantity demanded में proportionate change आया, वो 10% का आ गया, या वो 6% का आ गया, या anything above 5 basically. So price जितनी से increase हुई है, उससे ज़्यादा quantity demanded increase हुई है. So the idea is this is one of high responsiveness. And we call this to be, a price elastic demand. This is the case of elastic. And why is that? As I just said, if you want to have a value of greater than 1, the numerator should be greater than the denominator. So like something like 10% change over over 5% change, something of that sort. So idea here is, with elastic cases, high responsiveness cases में, if the price increased by, let's say, 5%, the quantity demanded will decrease by a much larger amount, 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever. Price अगर decrease हो, the quantity demanded will increase by a much larger amount. This is all relative to the increase in price. So price could increase by 100%, but quantity demanded 300%, 200%, या 120% से कम हो जाए, it is still an elastic case, right? इसके अगर हम diagram देखना चाहें, so the diagram is very simple. Basically, all PED does is it just plays around a bit with the gradients of the demand curve. So for the elastic case, this would be a very flat demand curve. Why is that? We'll see in just a bit. Because the idea here is for a small change in price, let's say this was P1, this was QD1, हमने बहुत छोटा सा चेंज किया प्राइस में, सही है, P2 पे चले गए, बहुत ही हल्का सा हमने कम किया. Quantity demanded should not just increase, it should increase by a very large, a much larger amount relatively. अगर आप देखो and you can see that, you can see अगर ये like let's suppose ये अगर 5% था तो ये definitely उससे तो ज़्यादा ही है. और अगर ये 5% है, ये suppose 30% है, 30/5 if you put in the formula, it will give you a value of greater than 1. So another way to, well, मुझे तो कभी याद नहीं रहता था कि डिमांड को हमें फ्लैट बनानी है, स्टीप बनानी है. सो आई यूज्ड टू मेक इट एंड देन मैं प्राइस एंड क्वांटिटी की वैल्यूज को इसी तरीके से प्लॉट करके मैं देख लेता था. The other way to remember this is in the elastic cases, quantity की region में ज़्यादा चेंज आ रहा है ना. Small changes in price leads to much larger changes in quantity demanded. So hence intuitively you should draw a flat curve ताकि quantity के excess पे ज़्यादा जगह हो. That's another way one can remember this. But let's go to the next slide about inelastic. इधर वैसे इधर भी हम बना सकते हैं. Okay, let's just make it here then. थोड़ी सी जगह पे कंजूसी करनी पड़ेगी. नहीं, इतनी कंजूसी नहीं. So okay, yeah. Alright, so if we look at inelastic, what we can call price inelastic demand, this is low responsiveness of by low responsiveness, I mean low responsiveness of quantity demanded to price. This is gets a value of less than 1, right? So basically idea is the change in quantity demanded is less than the change in price, because numerator की value छोटी है denominator से. So if you look at it here, if you take red, so अगर price नहीं, yeah, अगर price suppose 10% से increase हुई, quantity demanded has to fall, but like 2% से गिर गई, something like that. So a much larger change, a large change in price leads to a relatively small change in quantity demanded. And again, we're talking about percentages here. We never talk about absolute values. It's always 10%, 20%, all of that type of stuff. So yeah. So if you want to show this diagrammatically, price and quantity, you have to draw a very flat. In fact, we can make this flatter. So you have to draw a very flat demand curve. Again, बस gradient से हमने ज़रा खेल लिया. Why are you drawing a flat demand curve? ताकि this particular relationship is maintained, which we can see. अगर आपके पास ये price थी, ये quantity थी, हमने अगर price बढ़ा दी by a very large amount, सही है, like this is a significant amount. However, compared to this, the quantity demanded did decrease, लेकिन इतनी ज़्यादा नहीं हुई. ये तो इतना ज़्यादा से हुआ था, ये तो बहुत कम से हो गए. So that's the idea of inelastic here. इतनी ज़्यादा responsiveness नहीं है. Okay, so let's go to the other two cases, the other three cases, sorry. And it's easier to go to inelastic की बात कर रहे थे, तो let's go to perfectly inelastic. And one thing, these are extreme cases. In fact, I can even write this. So these are going to be extreme cases जो normally real world में दिखते इतने नहीं है. So these are basically where it's equals to 0, equals to infinity, and where it's equals to 1. You don't normally see these cases. So perfectly inelastic, intuitively it also shows that it should be equals to infinity. Obviously, अगर 1 से ज़्यादा was elastic, 1 से कम was inelastic, तो बिल्कुल ही 0 should be perfectly inelastic. The idea with this is that there is no responsiveness. Like with inelastic, there used to be low responsiveness. Either to बिल्कुल ही no responsiveness. Responsive care, responsiveness की spelling की खैर हो गई. राइट. इसमें आइडिया है कि अगर हमने प्राइस बढ़ाई 10% से तो क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड डिड नॉट चेंज. प्राइस हमने कम कर ली पर्टिकुलर परसेंट से, क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड डिड नॉट चेंज. मतलब इसमें बिल्कुल ही 0% का चेंज आया. And if obviously अगर आप formula याद, if you remember the formula, it was percentage change in quantity demanded or percentage change in price. तो जब न्यूमरेटर में कोई भी जीरो वैल्यू जाएगी, इधर आप जो भी डाल दो, zero upon anything is zero, which is why if if a change in price is not accompanied by a change in quantity demanded में कोई फर्क नहीं आए, 0% change हो, then obviously it will be a case of perfectly inelastic demand, and the formula would give you a value of zero. And to show this graphically, price and quantity should be a perfectly vertical demand curve, because the idea here is um, price में आप जितने को जो भी change ले आओ, like जो भी कर लो, the quantity still remains the same. Quantity will never change. So price up increase kar lo, decrease kar lo, whatever. And you could look at these 4 5 different price levels, and they all give the same quantity. कोई फर्क नहीं आता, right? So an interesting thing, interesting thing about this is that the total revenue का अगर हम बात करें वैसे total revenue is product of price and quantity, and the idea is it's like the total amount a producer earns, right? वैसे profit निकालना है तो revenue minus cost होता है, but revenue is the total पैसा that the guy gets, so उससे फिर वो cost subtract करता है, whatever. But revenue is basically price into quantity. So if you sold 50 samosas at 10 rupees each, your revenue will be 50 into 10, 500. The total revenue about the क्या कहते हैं the two main cases, elastic and inelastic, उसकी तो मैं अलग वीडियो बनाऊंगा because that's proper एक अलग concept है. इनके लिए छोटी छोटी चीजें जो MCQs में आती है वो अभी ही बता देता हूँ. इसमें the idea is कि if price जितने से बढ़ता है या कम होता है, suppose price 10% से बढ़ गया, सही है, the total revenue changes by the same amount. So total revenue would also increase by, let's say, 10%. Let's assume that I managed to draw a correct percentage sign. Why is that, you ask? Because obviously total revenue is price into quantity. अगर आपकी quantity change नहीं हो रही है but price change हो रही है तो वो directly affect कर देगा total revenue को. तो price 10% increase हुई, quantity में कोई फर्क नहीं आया, तो total revenue will increase by 10%. Another way to look at this is just to look at the graph that we drew. Total revenue area आपका हो जाता है because again price into quantity. So like if this was a total revenue, price increased by this much, by this much, okay, that's an arrow, whatever, then your total revenue would also increase by this much. That's the basic idea. जितने से price बढ़ेगी उतने से total revenue बढ़ जाएगा. It comes a lot in MCQs. Anyhow, so moving swiftly forward to the case of perfectly elastic. And if you think about it, if greater than 1 was elastic, less than 1 was inelastic, 0 was perfectly inelastic, infinity, which is greater than 1 but really greater than 1, should be perfectly elastic. So this is perfectly elastic, which is where you're equals to infinity, sahi. And this is the idea of infinite responsiveness. And like the examples of such products, मुश्किल से मिलती हैं. Like, so it's difficult to find an example of something that is perfectly inelastic. Like obviously price बढ़ रही है and आपको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ा, आप उतने consume कर रहे हो. I mean, maybe if you had to buy some drug or something that was a life-saving drug, and that's the only thing that would save you, and you had to consistently buy it, उसकी प्राइस जितनी सी बढ़े जितनी सी कम हो आपको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, आप जितनी आपको चाहिए डोजेज है आप वही खरीदते जाओगे. Maybe that could be an example. Perfectly elastic में तो और भी मुश्किल है to find an example, because the idea here is कि प्राइस हल्की सी बढ़ गई, हल्की सी बढ़ गई, क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड में वो बल आइडिया इज एक इनफाइनाइट चेंज आ जाएगा, सही है. प्राइस हल्की सी कम हो गई, क्वांटिटी डिमांडेड विल इंक्रीज बाय एन इनफिनिट amount. That's the idea. So that is difficult to visualize in real world, What example I could perhaps give is there are a lot of homogeneous producers like perfect competition wala scene ho gaya, all in one area, all producing the same thing, same quality, वही चीज प्रोड्यूस करें, सब समोसे प्रोड्यूस करें फॉर एग्जांपल. अब एक समोसे वाले बंदे ने अपनी प्राइस 1% से भी बढ़ा दी, नो वन विल बाय फ्रॉम हिम एनीमोर. उसकी क्वांटिटी डिमांड है बिल्कुल जीरो तो चली जाएगी, बिल्कुल इन्फिनिट चेंज आ जाएगा, एवरीवन विल कंप्लीटली स्विच. However, there if someone even reduce price by 5%, everyone will start, पूरी दुनिया will start buying from it then, because बाकी सारे will, if they're the same and they have perfect information, they just switch from the other samosa producers to this one. Khair, but that this is all rather theoretical. It's difficult to find millions of samosa producers at in the same spot, unfortunately. Anyhow, so price, quantity, demand curve. Because idea ये है कि अगर आपने प्राइस को हल्का सा भी बढ़ा दिया, सपोज इधर उधर चले गए, तो यू कांट इवन इंटरसेक्ट द डिमांड कर्व, मतलब इन्फिनिट चेंजिंग क्वांटिटी आ जाएगा. यू कांट इवन टेल, अगर प्राइस हल्का सा कम कर दिया, यू कांट इवन टेल कितना चेंजिंग क्वांटिटी डिमांड आ जाएगा, बिल्कुल जीरो पे चले जाएगी, बिकॉज this is just an infinite change. That's the basic idea. So here the idea is, if we rub this and rub this, for total revenue, whatever change in quantity, let's suppose this was the quantity you were producing, if quantity demand increased by, let's say, 10%, the total revenue will also increase by 10%, because price is like more or less fixed here. Like price cannot change when an infinite change हो जाएगा. तो here जो भी आपका quantity का change होता है, quantity का जो भी change है, that will be your total revenue का change. And these tidbits are useful for MCQs basically. Okay, let's go to our final case. Extreme case ये भी है. Yeah, so which was where it's equals to 1, which is unit elastic or unitary, whatever you like to call it. इसमें idea is that there is proportional or proportionate responsiveness, whatever responsiveness लिख दिया मैंने, खैर whatever, it doesn't really matter. Spelling की खैर है. So basically what I mean to say is that if you want a value of 1 from the formula, where it was percentage change in quantity demanded in the numerator and percentage change in price in the denominator, so idea जितने से जितना ऊपर value उतनी ही नीचे value होनी चाहिए, like something upon 5 upon 5, 10 upon 10, so on. So idea is, if price increases by, let's say, 10%, the quantity demanded should decrease by the very same amount, same percent. 10 10, ताकि 10 divided by 10 is 1. Price decreases by, let's say, 5%, quantity demanded should increase by 5%. So बिल्कुल ही proportionate change आना चाहिए in order to ensure that you get an overall value of 1. So for this to be shown diagrammatically, you have price, you have quantity, you draw what is called a rectangular hyperbola, or a decay curve as we call it in physics. So idea is, whatever you plot here, like इतने से I'm a little too lazy to do it, but अगर आप price and quantity इधर निकालने की कोशिश करो, so उसमें होगा ये कि your जितने से price का change आएगा उतने से quantity का change आएगा, if you draw a correctly shaped hyperbola. The main thing that's important here, that comes a lot in the MCQs, is the fact that total revenue is fixed, or it's constant. Why is that? Because total revenue was price into quantity. अगर प्राइस जितने से इंक्रीज होगी उतने से क्वांटिटी डिक्रीज हो जाएगी, तो टोटल रेवेन्यू पे कोई फर्क नहीं आएगा. दैट्स द आइडिया. सो बिकॉज अगर प्राइस, इफ इट डिक्रीज बाय 10% and quantity increase by 10%, because of their percentages and because they're multiplying, the overall total revenue पे value पे कोई फर्क नहीं आएगा. So they give a lot of MCQs where they say the total revenue is fixed or it doesn't change. So know for a fact that that is the case of unit elastic, right? So to put it simply, if I can just clear this slide, if you really look at it, so you have price, you have quantity, and let's make it in different color. So this is perfectly elastic, सही है, बिल्कुल ही which is value of 0. This is elastic. This is inelastic. Excuse the handwriting. And this is perfectly inelastic. So if you really look at it, as the elasticity increases, the only thing that happens is that the what do you call it? That the curve, sorry, the line becomes less steep. It becomes flatter. That's basically it. So idea is as the elasticity increases, basically the gradient of the curve decreases. That's the basic idea. The PD value increases from perfectly inelastic zero hai, फिर less than between zero and one, फिर between one and infinity, फिर finally infinity that is perfectly elastic. But that also happened to the PD value. It slowly increases, moving to perfectly from perfectly inelastic to perfectly elastic. But वैसे the curves become less steep. Another thing that they give in the um, in MCQs at times, uh, we can call this, what do you call it, elasticities, elasticity of a straight line demand curve. So a common misconception is that if you have a demand curve, let's say price and quantity, and this is a very normal looking demand curve, that isme elasticity is constant. That is false. All straight line demand curves have varying elasticity, right? But when we say कि, you know, the flat one is elastic, we mean generally वो elastic है. उसमें फिर भी inelastic regions होंगे. When we say that it's steep, it's inelastic, so we mean generally it's inelastic. It's inelastic. उसमें फिर भी elastic regions होंगे. Here, if you look at it, so if you take different colors, the idea, इधर थोड़ा सा रह गया, but खैर, इसे fill out ही कर लेते हैं. So yeah, the idea is that this point here, see, this is perfectly elastic. Then for a certain region, this is your elastic region. So yeah, this point here is perfectly inelastic. Then, you know, जो भी region है up to this point, it is basically your inelastic region, and this is unit elastic. So if you really look at it, elasticity की value basically, अगर आप ऐसे जाते जाओ, as you go, you know, from left to right on the demand curve, it goes from infinity to come hoti hai greater than 1, then equals to 1, then less than 1, then 0 ho jati hai. That's the idea. Elasticity value complete basically changes from infinity to 0. Why does that happen? You don't really need to know, but the idea is, if you look at the formula, बिल्कुल ही स्टार्टिंग के बिल्कुल क्वांटिटी जब 0 से 1, 0 से 2 हो रही होती है, देन बहुत ही infinitely large percentage के changes होते हैं. If you really look at it that way, percentage wise बहुत large changes आ जाते हैं. That's the idea. Like if you go from 0 to 2, अगर price 100 to 98 जा रही है, and at the same time you're going from, like, if you look here, like अगर हमने ये point लिया था, ये एक point लिया था, and then you take this point, say you go like this, so price इधर कहीं 100 to 98 जा रही होगी, maybe 2% decrease हो गई. अगर इधर भी units दो ही increase हो रहे हैं, but because 0 to 2 आ रहे हैं, 200% increase हो जाएगा. So obviously this would be an elastic region, right? And the reverse is applicable here, कि quantity, if you're going like इधर से आप ऐसे आ रहे हो, so quantity शायद 2-3 units कम हो गए, but because you're starting off with such a high value, उसकी percentage change इतना नहीं है. But price क्योंकि बिल्कुल ही low से start किया है, 0 to 10 भी हो गए, तो that's like you know, a very high percentage increase. So the percentage वाला bit kind of leads to this happening. but you don't really need to know the logic. You just need to remember कि कौन सा region क्या है. Another thing, so here जो ये point है where it's unit elastic, this is the point of total revenue maximization. And we'll learn this later. मैं अभी बस बता देता हूँ, because the case is in elastic region. So if you are in the elastic region, you want to decrease price. If you're in the inelastic region, I'm not writing that, but you want to increase price to increase this. I mean, all of these two price changes maximize your total revenue. We'll learn this in the next video. But obviously, if you look at it, elastic region में अगर आप price decrease कर लोगे, inelastic region में अगर आप price increase कर लोगे, आप obviously इसी point पे आ जाओगे. That would be your total revenue maximizing price. Because the point is you're supposed to decrease price in the elastic region to maximize total revenue, but increase price in the inelastic region to maximize total revenue. So perhaps a little long video, but we managed to cover a lot.